wasn't truly his home to be back in, but he sure felt like it to all of us and even to him, he says. A Hoosier at heart has passed away. Singer and actor Jim Nabors died at his home in Hawaii yesterday. He was 87 years old. Nabors was a staple, of course, at the Indianapolis 500 for decades.
Yeah, you just heard a little clip there. Of course, we know him well for singing Back Home Again in Indiana before the 500 for decades. Became an icon in its own right. He started singing it in the early 1970s. And we just adopted him as kind of a Hoosier.
And he says himself, he's just a redneck who became a Hoosier by accident. He thought he was going to be asked to sing the national anthem.
Right.
He's walking up there saying, I don't even know the words. I got to write it on my hand. But he's so casual, so cool about the whole thing, but genuinely had an affinity for Indianapolis, Indiana, the Indy 500, and Hoosiers in general.
Of course, we're always so lucky to have Derek Daly, our racing analyst, provide perspective, and you can give us that unique perspective as both a driver and now more or less a spectator, but of course still very involved at the track. How did your acknowledgement, I guess, of Nabors and those pre-race ceremonies change between those two roles? When you were a driver, what was it like, and then later on?
The drivers are focused on the moment. I'm about to get in, get strapped in, go against the competition. But nobody can overlook the pre-race ceremonies. I mean, the pomp and ceremony that he, quite frankly, anchored. Not because of the words that he sang, but the voice. The voice was so identifiable. And I think the great tribute to him was the first time he was sick and he wasn't there. Everybody sang along to the tape of Jim Nabors. I mean, that's how revered he was in the city and in the sport in general.
So the last time he actually sang live was in 2014. The next year he did the taping of it, and then the next year we had Straight Now Chaser, and then last year we had Jim Cornelison. But you actually traveled out to Hawaii to interview Jim Nabors when he couldn't make it out to Indiana to sing, and one of his last interviews he did.
What a pleasure. I went to his home, which I call his retreat, because when you walk in there, you realize why he was there. He said, I could have lived anywhere, but when I came to Hawaii, I knew this was for me. Right on the beach, glass windows that overlooked the ocean. And his home, or his retreat, is a bit of a museum to him, to his history, because the walls are just full of photos, signed photos, some of the most famous people in the world, past presidents. And he loved to show people around. I mean, a man that's done so much, for him to open his home and say, hey, come on in and join me for the day. It was just a delight and a thrill for me.
You've said he's one of the nicest men you've ever met. You've met a lot of people, Derek.
I mean, when you meet a Jim Nabors, I mean, this is a famous guy. This is an actor who was famous and a singer. How many people have two careers where they become iconic? So, you know, your little trepidation when you walk in could not have been nicer. What can we do for you? What would you like to drink? As we packed up to leave after spending almost 2 hours with him, he says, no, do you have time for lunch? Let's go down the beach. I'd love to buy you lunch. I mean, we're thinking, this is Jim Nabors. But that is the type of man he was. He had so many friends. He was loved by so many, but he gave it back. He gave it back to us. And I know he's gone. We all go at some stage. But I think we were enriched by what happened at the Speedway by accident. And all these years later, you know, we now talk about this great man. And he won't be forgotten, a bit like Tom Carnegie, you know, iconic and won't be forgotten.
And what about him, what about Indiana did he fall in love with? What was it?
I think he truly felt the warmth of the embrace of the Indy 500 first, then realized 300,000 or 400,000 people joined into that, and then he realized the state of Indiana joined in, because he got so many messages, he would say, after he sang. People would drip feed messages forever, how thankful they were that they were there on a particular day to see him, to hear him. And so he truly felt the warmth from here. And isn't that a great feeling that, that he knew that? He felt that for all these years from right here at home.
Absolutely.
Great, kindred spirits.
Absolutely, yeah, truly,
Yeah.
truly.
Well, Derek, thank you for providing some insight and thought on, we were also saddened to get that message, but you did a great job.
A long life well lived.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thinking about all those memories. So we appreciate you coming on and
My pleasure.
talking with us. We're going to send it over now. We're going to switch gears.